Hey everybody, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. My name is Matt and this channel is all about learning to tie flies. Now the pattern I'm going to be walking through tonight is a true classic. It's the American Pheasant Tail. Originated in the 30s in England by a guy named Frank Sawyer. Only two materials to it, pheasant tail fibers and copper wire. We brought it to the States in the 50s. We had to add Peacock Herl like we do for about everything. But still super easy to tie, very effective. I've always got about a dozen of these in my box. If you haven't tied one yet, you should definitely give it a shot. I think you're going to like it. Let's get started. So I will explain the materials as I go and put the recipe in the description. So starting out, I'm using a size 14 barbless nymph hook. It is a 2x long, 1x strong. I'm going to put down about 8 wraps of 020 diameter weight. You could use 015, probably put a few more wraps. I like these to be pretty heavy, so I'm going with the 020. It doesn't look too out of place on here. Now I'm using brown thread, UTC 8/0. I'll put a little dam behind the weight, take it up over the weight, secure it in the front, and then build a taper and lay the base down to the bend of the hook. Now the next component of this is copper wire. I'm using a UTC Ultra in size small. I will catch this in at about a 45-degree angle, maybe 1 or 2 turns, and then pull it to where the butt is just behind that weighted wrap. Try not to hit your point of your hook with your thread. I don't know if you could tell, but I just did. It takes a few more wraps to get that scruffy part done there. Okay, so we got a decent looking taper right there. We've got our rib caught in. Now the next component of this classic American pheasant tail is pheasant tail fibers. So get about 5 or 6. Now these don't have to be perfect. You see I've got a 1 or 2 that are a little bit shorter than the others there. That's going to be fine for the tail. Now we're going to catch this in about a body length. Maybe just a hair shorter. So I've got 2 wraps. You don't want to get carried away and get your thread too far up forward, because then you would see some thread after you started wrapping your body. So if you got it caught in well enough, take this thread back up here, not all the way to the front, because we're going to catch this in about 2/3 of the way up. So grab your pheasant tail fibers. Be careful in that first wrap. You might jostle your tail a little bit. After you got the first wrap good, you're probably good to go. Okay, secure that in with a couple or 2 or 3 wraps. It's about a body of 2/3. It's probably going to end up being about a half of the fly after we build the thorax and the weight. Now I was reading about this pattern in a Tom Rosenbauer book, and he mentioned that he likes to wrap this wire the same way he did the pheasant tail fibers. A lot of people will counter wrap it to give it a little bit more durability. So just up to you, whatever you think looks best or however you want to do it. I'm sure it does make it a little more durable if you counter wrap it, but I rarely have a fly go bad from too many fish's teeth on it. More likely too many tree limbs catching it. So spin this off. Maybe a couple more wraps to bury that pointy part of the wire right there. Now take some more pheasant tail fibers. This time a couple more. I've got about 8 right here. And this part, you do want your tips to be pretty well lined up. Otherwise, when we fold them back over, you're going to have some awkward looking legs. So I've found if you've got your tail the right length, catch this in about to the end of the tail, maybe not quite as much. This part does take a little bit of practice. So, to get the right length anyway. So we're going to go back almost to the halfway point. Now envision this. This is about the last chance you have to correct it. If you push that over and then fold the legs back, are you going to have the right length? I think we're about right. I'm going to go one more thread width back right there. Now snip off the butt ends of these pheasant tail fibers here. Okay, the next component, Peacock Herl. I love Peacock Herl. It's magical. It turns any nymph into a magic nymph. So 2 strands right here. I've snipped off the first couple of inches of the really brittle stuff. So I'm going to catch this in. Now, Tom Rosenbauer said to use 3. And I did a couple with 3. I thought it was too bulky. So on this size 14, I think 2 looked a little bit better. Okay, a couple securing wraps there, and snip off this excess. A good length of Peacock Herl, and you can probably do 3 flies. So we're not going to crowd the eye too much there. Now grab these last pheasant tail fibers without grabbing the tail. This is your wing case. So pull these over, try to lay them flat, and take 1 or 2 medium wraps just to check your position. You can still change them if you need to right there. So we've got that wing case pretty much over the top, and I think our wings, let's see, they're a little bit askew, so I'm going to straighten them and put 1 more wrap. So now what are going to be my legs, I don't know if I just said wings, sometimes I say wings when I mean legs, but split these as even as you can. Push them back with your finger, and then try to pinch them on the side without any of them slipping forward. And just a few wraps here to capture them in, and then check your position. Are they coming off evenly to the side? Maybe, except this one right here is sticking up. We'll deal with him individually. Okay. So I think we're about good there. Those legs aren't too long. Wing case looks pretty good, and the tail is about the right proportion and length. So, we can just clean up this head. And it's a nymph. You don't have to worry about the head being tiny, but don't let it get too out of hand on you. And a 4 or 5 turn whip finish. Drop the head cement without clogging up your eye. And there you have it. The all-American classic pheasant tail. A very simple tie. When you're not talking to a camera, you can knock one out in about 3 minutes or so, maybe 4 minutes. Anyway, you can do a lot of them in an hour of tying. So anyway, folks, that's all. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you will consider subscribing. So we'll see you next time.